Welcome, everyone, to a program where we are going to meet our candidate, Sal Lupoli, for the Chelmsford School Committee. And this afternoon, we're going to talk about Sal so that you'll get a better picture of who Sal is and why he's running. My first question is, Sal, could you give us a little bit about your background?
Sure, Angie. First of all, thank you very much for letting me come on the show and you moderating this.
You're
I'll tell you a
welcome.
little bit about myself. First of all, I was born in East Boston, Massachusetts. I moved out of East Boston when I was about 6 years old. We moved up to 4 Forest Street in Chelmsford, Mass. And that's where I was raised for the past, 45 years or so. And I went through the Chelmsford public school system. And upon graduating from Chelmsford High School, I attended Northeastern University on a full athletic scholarship. You know, Andrew, I wouldn't have been able to go to school if it wasn't for athletics, and so athletics are very important to me. As a result of going to Northeastern, I graduated with a degree in business management with honors. I was captain of the football team. And before I graduated, Angie, I decided that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. So while I was at Northeastern, I talked to professors and I talked to a lot of people. In particular, I spoke to my mentor, my father at the time. And I asked him about different ideas. And we kind of settled on some advice that he gave me, which was the food business. But I really didn't know what I was going to do in the food business, Andrew. So I did some additional research and I studied all the different food programs that are across the country and different opportunities that exist, whether it was restaurants or fast food or functions or wholesale business. I settled on the pizza business because it was the most profitable business out there. And then I went about creating a market strategy and a whole business strategy of going into the pizza business. It wasn't a recipe that I had. It wasn't a business that I bought. It wasn't a company-owned or a family-owned operation that I took over. It was just a good idea with a strategy with some great education, starting with my father and my mother, and certainly my professors. So that started Sal's Pizza. We started with one little store up in Salem, New Hampshire. And Angie, this is a true and documented part of the story. I sold my car to open the first store.
Oh, wow.
And we opened a little 700 square foot location, myself and my younger brother, Nick. And from there, fast forward 25 years of sustainability. I'm proud to tell you that we have well over 500, probably closer to 1,000 people. Why? Because we're franchised and we have different aspects of the organization now. And I'm most proud of that division because of the jobs that we created. You know, Angie, I've never worked for anyone. I've just worked for my family or myself. And while I was at Northeastern, I think it's important to know that I met my lovely wife, Katie. She's a local Chelmsford girl. Her last name is Russo. So we got married in 1995. I had my first daughter, my first child in 1997, Mary, who's a senior today, who's going to Bentley University. We're very excited about it through the Chelmsford Public School System.
That is an exciting,
And Sal Jr. is a freshman at the high school. And he also has been a product of the Chelmsford Public School System. But it's been a great journey. Today we're in development, construction, the food business, hospitality. And I'm very, very excited where we've come from, because who you are is where you came from.
That's right.
And I owe everything in my life to my wife and children, but really my mother and father taught me the values and lessons in life. Come from a big family, Ange, 5 brothers, living in a little 1,800 square foot home. And I think what's exciting is this. We ate pasta 4 or 5 times a week, not because we liked it, Ange. For a couple of bucks, you could feed your whole family.
Good. Well, that's good, Sal. I think that gives a good idea of what you came from and some of the obstacles you had to overcome and how you included people to help you make your decisions. So my next question is, why are you running for school committee? And then before you answer that in particular, in your answer, I'd like to know is why your decision came a little bit later than some of the other candidates. So,
Ange, I've been a little reluctant to talk about it.
Yeah.
And for the people that are in my life, in my circle, they understand why.
Right.
In the fall, I lost the greatest person in my life, my mother, my hero.
Sure.
And I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to be very specific, but Ange, in the fall, when you lose, at that point, your hero. My mother was my hero.
Right.
I didn't know if it was AM or PM, Ange. I didn't know if it was up or down. I woke up and 2 months had gone by. you know, and
Yeah, sure.
we had lost our father at the age of 61 years old in 2003, which was a tremendous blow to me. I lost my brother James in 2007 to leukemia, who was a big part of the business.
Right.
But to lose the matriarch of the family, you know, my mother in October of 2014, this past fall, it was devastating for me. And so I don't, you know, I wasn't up to go to certain things or certain events, but yeah, I came out of it in January, and that's when I decided I wanted to do this.
Okay, that's good. Good, and I think that's good, you know, to eliminate any reasons why people say, you know, why did you wait so long? What was your picture of why you were doing that? In the meantime, what were your goals, or what are your goals for running for school committee? What did you set up? Why, you know?
Well, Angie, my goals might be a little different than why I got in the race.
Yep.
When I saw the problem that Chelmsford was having in the late winter, January, when we were realizing the deficit problem we were in, that scared me, right? That concerned me. Why? Because my children are in the school system. I've always been a part of the Chelmsford public school system.
Right.
I've been a mentor to our kids for over 10 years in the Chelmsford public school system, and right up until today, I'm a mentor or coach or in our system and Pop Warner system and president of Pop Warner. So I'm all around kids all the time. But when I realized that we were almost $1 million in debt, that people were losing their jobs, decisions were being made very quickly, I got concerned about it, because that's not Chelmsford's history, right?
Right.
Chelmsford has such a history of being successful, and one of the best things that we could hang our hat on, besides our community, was our school system. We were known for our school system. And all of a sudden, Ange, I was looking in the newspaper every single day, and Chelmsford was on the front page for all the wrong reasons.
Right.
So I decided to get in to the race for that reason. But when I came into the race, I started realizing what is really important, because very quickly I realized that this isn't a fiscal problem anymore. We brought in a brilliant, talented individual in Frank Antonelli, and he really took away all the concerns that we had, that the numbers were going in the right place.
Right.
We do not have an accounting problem today or a fiscal problem today. We might have a lack of funding problem, but that's a whole different conversation.
That's been, yeah.
But
okay.
very quickly, my priorities were many, but the top two. What can be more important than the safety of our children based on some of the incidents that have taken place?
Right.
So safety for our children. And then our mission for our community has been and will be full-day kindergarten. And right now, half-day kindergarten, or people paying for full-day kindergarten, what is that doing to our kids, Ange? Well, what's it doing is our kids aren't starting very equal. The first part of their life, when education, we have some kids that don't even go to any kind of early education, and then some kids are going to full-day education because the parents are paying for it. So I wanted to help fund, be part of a team, create, I know I'm only 1 in 5 votes, Ange, but that is my focus. Safety for our children, full-day kindergarten.
So that's what you're planning, and for your future plans, your envision is to continue the education program, but make it equal for all kids.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then of course continue the safety of our students. Good.
You know, just to jump on that, Ange, you know, and we need to do that and not burden the taxpayer anymore. Some of the thoughts of having our taxpayers pick up full-day kindergarten, I think is just the wrong approach. We need to do a better job for the school committee, for the school department. We need to allow our children and the taxpayers to have full-day kindergarten and not have to pay for it.
Right.
And that's my goal, Angelo.
Good, good. Another thing is with your goals and your reasons for your running and your visions for the future, the time factor, is that going to be a problem, or are you going to?
Oh, the time factor question.
The time factor question. You've heard that before.
Well, you know, I think I've heard it in every single debate. You know, and I think what's amazing is, and respectfully, first of all, I'm the CEO of my organization, have been for over 25 years.
Right.
I think that allows me the luxury of coming and going as I please, because I've surrounded myself with talented, brilliant people. I'm
Good
so
move.
proud of my individuals that work in our company. You know, and I've always said, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to surround yourself with great people. So these great people allow me the luxury to do wonderful things, not only for my community, but if you were to look on my history, if you were to look in my background, Ange, you'd see it's littered with opportunities that my employees have allowed me to do. For
Right.
example, my employees have allowed me to raise money for our school system. You know, when Paul Cohen came to me and asked me if I could, on the private sector, help organize the sum of $500,000 in less than 7 months,
Right.
I worked tirelessly night and day with the entire community to
Right.
help orchestrate that. And I was just a piece of that, Ange, but we did it. We
Right.
did it in the time frame. I worked tirelessly to build that Angelo Taranto Community
you
building
did. Thank
over at
you.
McCarthy.
Right.
I worked tirelessly to put the wells and the irrigation system over at Parker, to do the fitness center at the high school. To do all these wonderful things, they take time.
That's right.
But nothing, to me, nothing can be more important or a priority is when you're talking about children, you'll find the time. You need to find the time.
right.
Because that's the number one priority I
Right.
have, Ange.
So you don't see that as a problem then? Okay, that's good.
Not
And
at all,
I
Ange.
think, I hope this relaxes many people and, you know, with their
I can come and
questions.
go as I please. I don't answer to anyone,
Right.
Ange. I
Good.
don't have to ask permission from
to
my
leave,
company to
right.
leave, or now is not a good time. If there's a crisis, I can be there in a matter of
Right.
a small amount of time.
Okay. Another thing is where you're interested in running for the school committee. It's something that a venture that you chose, that you decided you wanted to do, as you said, to help out the community, to play your role, to pay back to the town. What did you do in particular to prepare yourself for this position as a school committee member, if elected?
You know, I'm going to tell you a funny story, Ange. In 2011, I was asked something very, very special. I was asked if I wanted to attend and get my Master's of Business Administration from MIT Sloan.
Right.
And that took me, and the answer was yes.
Yep.
And that took me almost 14 months to accomplish. Every single day I traveled into Cambridge
Right.
for a period of at least 10 to 12 hours a day, and then I came home and I studied for 4 or 5 hours a night. And I did that because that's what needed to get done. That was the priority at that time. And I graduated, naturally, from MIT.
Yep.
But it really gave me a great foundation. And sometimes, you know, I'm 48 years old. As you get older in life, you start to lose some of the wonderful opportunities and some of the wonderful tricks that you had to be able to study when you were back in college.
Right.
But going back to school, I became a student again. And that's what I did when I became a member, or I threw my hat in the ring for school committee. I went back to becoming a student. And there isn't one person in this town that leads an organization or a member of an important group. For example, I've reached out to the selectmen and had many meetings with individuals on the board. I've reached out to the town manager and sat down with him on several occasions. I spoke to the police department chief to find out how to make our kids safer. He taught me and educated me on the wonderful programs that exist that we're not doing, that we can do a better job in.
Right.
The fire department, the finance department I spoke to. I spoke to advocates in the entire community that have impact on our kids and have a strong opinion on our kids. I spoke to people like yourself, Ange, who educated me and taught me the way. Anybody and everybody that I could think of that could teach me, I went to. And my file is this thick, Ange, and every single night I review my notes, I study. I became educated on Chapter 70 and some of those programs that we need to overcome. I spoke to state delegation
Right.
representatives and said, you know, this is what I understand. Can you teach me why we're not getting certain things? So I went all in, Ange, and that's how I do things. And
Well,
you
that's
can't
good.
get to where I am in my organization or in life if you're not willing to sacrifice. And I sacrificed myself to become educated.
Good. No, good. And you know, it's good to hear that you're not afraid to reach out. You're not afraid to get answers from somebody and then say, well, how can I fit that into my role or my goals that I have set if I'm elected as the school committee? A question that leads up with that is, how do you feel about the strong legislative advocacy that I think is needed? You know, I was lucky enough when I was leaving the school committee how many years ago, a couple of years ago, and they asked me if I would consider being the liaison to the legislators, because that was my role when I was on the school committee. So I had developed this relationship with our legislators, and so I feel that's an important thing. So how do you feel about that, and what do you see it doing for us?
Angie, I have to say it this way, it's extremely important.
Right.
That relationship that we have as a community with the legislative body is extremely, extremely important.
Right.
Let's just get it on the table. What's some of the challenges of Chelmsford? Well, Ange, we're broken up by 4 representatives. We have Nagel, we have Golden, we have Arcero, we have Barrett, and we have Corey Atkins.
Right.
Barrett on the Senate
Senate
side.
side, right.
So we don't have that one person that represents our community. So I believe this. I believe for Chelmsford to be heard, I feel that I can use my 25 years of relationships, and that's what I do, Ange. I deal with the public all the time. I
Right.
deal with
Right.
the State House all the time to get these wonderful projects that I do, which is our construction business. We have some of the biggest construction projects in the state. That puts you in that arena all the time.
Right.
So I want to use those contacts. I think they're critical. I think Chelmsford is at a little bit of a disadvantage because we don't have one person that represents somebody really stomping their feet and banging that table and saying, hey, listen to Chelmsford. I can be that voice, Ange. I can be that voice. I can be effective. I know those people. I know how to get to the power players in the state. It's not unusual for us to be sitting down with the governor or the lieutenant governor or the speaker of the House or some of these other representatives.
Right.
And at least we could say, hey, listen, this is what Chelmsford needs. How can you help us? At least we can get to that point, Ange.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to use all those relationships, Ange. As a
Well,
matter
I
of
think
fact,
that's a comforting feeling for me as a citizen and for me as an ex-school committee person. And I look at it this way, Sal. If that, you're elected and you do this, then when the time comes for us to go in and advocate for what we need, we're not at step 1.
That's
because
right.
you already have reached out to them. We're at step 3 or more. So our process would be a little bit ahead. And I think that would be something for us as the community, to gain. As you're doing this, and as a member of the school committee, you have used the word leadership. Okay, can you tell me under what context you would be the leadership? Is it a matter of control, or is it a different way of getting your role as the school committee person?
Leadership comes in all shapes and forms.
Right.
And I believe one of the greatest qualities I possess is leadership. Ange, it's just what I do. It's
Right.
what I'm good at. It's what I'm comfortable at.
Right.
I like that feeling. I like to help. I like to find solutions. I like to be able to be vulnerable and listen to people and say, you're a smart person. You're a smart gal. You're a smart guy. Tell us how to do this the right way. Just because you're a leader doesn't give you all the answers. And I think that's been some problems that our community has had in the past.
Yep.
I want to bring a level of leadership that reaches across all sections.
Right.
I want to bring leadership that helps bring the selectmen more involved with us, helps bring the finance more involved, helps bring the treasury, helps bring the town manager. Because when they have a problem, I want them to be able to depend on the school committee
Yes.
or the superintendent to solve their problems. These problems that exist in our town, they're just not all in the school department. They're across all of the departments.
Right.
So leadership is understanding that you're one of 5 people right now if I'm lucky enough to get on board, Ange.
Right.
And leadership comes from building that coalition with those 5 people, having an agreed and a shared vision. Single people just can't have a vision. If you want a vision to be successful, it has to
Right.
be a shared vision, because not one person can accomplish all by himself and be successful. And especially when you're talking about a community, Ange,
Right.
it has to be a shared vision. With a shared vision comes teamwork. With teamwork comes the ability to allow people to help us.
Right. That's good. I think that's a clarifying point that I think is important, because sometimes people will hesitate and hold back and just say, no, it's their job.
Yeah.
But it isn't. You know, it's everybody's job. And I like what you say in your answers at the debates and so forth. You know, I want to look at this as a community, because a community is 9, 10 parts. You know, if we broke it up, students, parents, leaders, whatever
Absolutely.
it is. You know, so we're gonna. You know, it's good.
You're talking about something, Ange, that's very important for our community, and we do that. And how do we do that? We have all these wonderful men and women that volunteer to be on these boards. They don't receive any compensation.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of energy to do this. These are hardworking individuals that have a job and a family that they have to take care of, and they volunteer their time. And the reason they're so successful, Angie, is because they depend on one another.
Right.
And it is a community, Angie. And if we can continue that fact that we're all in this together,
Right.
and nobody wants any credit. See, that's a great thing. When nobody wants credit, things will get done, Angie.
Right. That's a good point. I think that's a good point. I haven't seen that too much myself as well, serving on the school committee, because it was just what you're going to say, and I'm happy to see it's going to continue, because you're saying everybody has to work together. Let me ask you this. If you are elected and you've been watching the school committee meetings at home, and you have been able to attend school committee meetings, what, maybe if for the sake of coming up, what other items on the agenda would you like to see, other than, you know, we got the old business, the new business, policies, whatever else we have, you know, and then the liaison reports and everything. But you have shared with me some things that you want to see on the school committee more often.
That's right.
Could you enlighten us with that?
Angie, we got to do a better job communicating. We got to do a better job in letting our parents know what's going on. We got to do a better job communicating with the other boards. You know, I think when you talk about policy and you talk about some of the reasons why I want to be on the board, you talk about the ability to be transparent. Right? And that's what I want, Ange. I want our school committee to be so great. I want Chelmsford to be what it once was, which is a force in the Merrimack Valley, a force in education. But you can't do that, Ange, if you think you're operating in a silo. You can't do that if you feel that you have no one to answer to.
Right.
You can't be like that, Ange. So you got to reach across those lines. You got to build those rapport. You got to build those relationships. You know, you got to do what we used to do. Put the kids first.
Right.
If you put the kid first, I promise you, Angie, everything will be all right. We'll make the best decisions. They'll be easy. They'll be easy when you look through the lens of the child.
Yeah.
But sometimes today, Angie, what happens is the situation we're in, some of the decisions that are being made right now, they might not be looking through the lens of the child. You know, and what do I mean by that? Ange, we don't have a Chelmsford High School principal, which might be one of the most important positions in the entire program.
It is the important position.
Would you agree, sir?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
We don't have a business manager. We have a wonderful and brilliant individual in Frank Antonelli that's on a waiver that ends in June.
Right.
And I will tell you this, I've already made phone calls, and I haven't yet talked to Frank, but I'll tell you what, boy, would I love to see him stay on a little bit more, or at least help us find the right person.
Help us go through the cycle.
And everybody knows we're trying to get through this very difficult time with our superintendent, and hopefully our present school committee, because I'm still an involved parent, Ange, right? I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a taxpayer right now.
That's right.
And I'm hoping and I'm urging our school committee to bring a resolution and allow this wonderful individual, to allow him and his wonderful family to move in a different direction, and allow Chelmsford to move in a different direction, and really put that behind us. But when that happens, Ange, if that does happen, you're not going to have a superintendent, you're not going to have a business manager, and you're not going to have a high school principal.
Right. And
that's pretty serious stuff.
And who knows who else?
That's right, and who knows who else. I've always said it. Let's not talk about where we are today. Everybody understands that. Or how we got here. Everybody understands that.
Right.
Where are we in the future? What is tomorrow look like? What is our plan moving forward? And that's what I want to talk about.
There you go.
Where are we going forward?
Right.
Because what happens if there's a change at leadership with the superintendent? And what happens if other people within the organization follow him?
Yeah.
We have to be prepared.
Right, that's right. Let me put it this way. I, as a parent, and you have two lovely children, I know them, and you and your wife are both graduates of Chelmsford High
That's
School.
correct.
Are you pleased with what you see going on and the achievements that our kids are making? Are you, are you happy? Are you proud? I mean,
am,
yeah.
Could
you give us a little bit?
Sure. I think that is a wonderful question,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell you why. Because I talk about how proud I am as an individual
Right.
to graduate from Chelmsford
Right.
High School. I'm proud to be an alumni of Chelmsford. I'm proud to be in the Hall of Fame. Something wonderful happened. When I went to Chelmsford High School, it really gave me the social skills, and it gave me the ability to look through a different lens, and it really gave me confidence, and I created mentors with coaches and teachers and professors and all across. But what happened? I got a great education at Northeastern. I came back to Chelmsford
Right.
because I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted my other kids that I haven't even met yet in our system, I wanted them to experience similar things that I
Right,
experienced.
exactly.
And when it came time for my children, Ange, and this is so important, because I've worked tirelessly, I've been prosperous.
Right. Yep.
I have the luxury to send my children, like other people do, to a private school.
That's right.
And when they asked me what school Mary was going to go to, and when they asked me what school that Sal Jr. was going to, I didn't even hesitate, Ange. I said they're going to the best private school in the state, as far as I'm concerned, Chelmsford
Right.
High School.
Right. Good.
So today, as a result of that, my lovely daughter, whose heart is this big as this whole room, my son, my daughter's going to Bentley, wonderful education. She was the captain of the lacrosse team, captain of the soccer team. I'm going to tell you something, a little thing about my daughter that not a lot of people know. We have a foreign exchange student from Spain in Chelmsford, and she was in a very, very challenged home, and she was really upset, and she was a member of the soccer team. And when my daughter found out that she was in a bad situation.
wasn't happy.
She wasn't happy.
Right.
My daughter didn't even ask me because she knows our values. She knows what we stand for as a family.
Right.
The girl moved into our home in November,
Yep.
lives with us today. She's one of our own.
Yep. That's
And
true.
she is the most well-adjusted young lady that you'll ever meet.
good.
And not a lot of people know that. My daughter did that,
Definitely.
Ange.
On her
My
own.
son, freshman at the high school, fabulous
value.
relationship,
Right.
great friends, outgoing, confident. That's what Chelmsford does. That's what I want, Ange.
That's what you want. Right? It's good, and I'm glad that the young lady had this opportunity to enjoy her stay here, because so many times some kids are sad. They don't finish their commitment.
She was going home, man. She was in that
well, I'm
kind of a
glad.
situation. Her
Yeah.
name is Elena.
And I bet you she's happy that she's staying.
She's thrilled. Her
See
mom's
what
coming in a
Chelmsford
few
is?
days. She's
Oh,
going to stay
really?
with us, and her
Oh,
brother.
nice.
Her brother has already come. I brought her. Her brother came down from New York and stayed
Nice.
with us.
Yep.
She was feeling a little blue. We brought her brother down, perked her right up, and it's a great
Sal, I'm going to
experience.
have to interrupt, but we're running out of time, so I want to give you some time to ask the town, the voters. So go ahead.
Town of Chelmsford, Mom and Dad. On April 7th, you have a wonderful choice. I would love to ask you for your vote on April 7th. All I can tell you is this. I'm extremely passionate about our town. I'm from our town. I've invested in our town. I've been a product of our town and coaching our kids and mentoring our kids and jumping onto anything that we needed. Because in the end, it's all about the kids. And I realize that. So hopefully on April 7th, I'll be lucky enough to receive your vote to become a Chelmsford School Committee member. So don't forget to vote. And once again, thank you on behalf of my entire family, my wife, my children, my mother and father. Thank you for giving me the opportunity
Change in the polls.
to be in there.
Change in the polls.
Yes, that's right. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. There's
Yeah.
a change in the polls. There are really 3 locations. 2 of them are at Chelmsford High School, at McCarthy Middle School, one side of the building, and on the calf side, the gym side and the calf side, and then at the senior center. So there's really 3 locations. I think 2 and 3 are at the senior.